This is Business Inspire GY, where we aim to motivate and empower through knowledge. Today we bring you Action Coach, a business coaching and training firm that will share with you information on how to manage a successful business. And for the benefit of our viewers, could you introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name is Keon Smith. I'm the Coaching and Training Director here at Action Invest Caribbean.
I'm Dr. Krishna Durga. I'm the CEO of Action Invest Caribbean Inc. We manage several franchises such as Action Coach and Engage and Grow, Job Maxwell, so quite a number of those.
Now, gentlemen, could you explain to us what really is Action Coach and how long have you been operating in the Guyanese market?
Action Coach concept started off in 1993 in Australia by Brad Sugars. And what he really looked at doing is addressing the amount of businesses that were going out of business. It was really troubling to him. And he started to look at how does he help companies from a very practical perspective do the things that are needed so that they can be very successful and grow at the rate that they had initially really intended to. So I started following Action Coach and also participating in many of their webinars and training. I was able to institute quite a lot into my own business, and in 2013 I was able to operate from my business in Barbados that continued to grow, continues to do well, and move to Georgetown and get started to expand the business, move into other sectors as well. And in 2015, it would have been actually November 2014, we actually acquired a franchise for Action Coach in Guyana.
How different is Action Coach to many of those other service providers in the mentoring area?
First of all, we do not see other service providers as competitors. Each one of those service providers have their way of delivering their service to their customers. What we do is that we let our clients know that we're not consultants, which means that we wouldn't come and be doing the work for you. What we do here at Action Coach is that we transfer a lot of skills, tools and systems to our clients so that they can, first of all, improve themselves. Because if the business owner doesn't grow individually, then it becomes extremely difficult for him to grow the business.
There are a lot of people who claim to provide business support services, and I would strongly encourage anyone who's considering getting support to really figure out where are you getting the support from. Because we know, like any other field, if you're a carpenter, if I'm sure that there's some bad carpenters, some bad contractors that have given the field a bad name, it doesn't mean all carpenters are bad. It can also be with newscasters. There could be some newscasters who give the whole profession a bad name. It doesn't mean all of them are bad. And again, I would strongly encourage you, if you've tested out someone before and you didn't like what happened, research us, talk to our clients. I'm sure by now with 400 plus testimonials, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see nearly 200 testimonials. I'm sure there are business owners there who you know. You can even call us, tell us which area you're from. You can tell your business owners in your own community that you can go and talk to. Generally, we don't ask them to tell anybody. It's nice that they do talk about us, but the results belong to them.
Dr. Durga, what advice would you give someone starting a business?
Choose a business that has some uniqueness, that you actually bring some value to the table. What are you doing better than the persons? If you can't find one or two or three things that you do better than the competitor, then the person who's currently in that business, don't get into that business. Because all you're doing is that you're damaging the market. And if that person doesn't understand how to do business and that person has a better product than you, but because they also don't have the knowledge, and you start selling 5% cheaper and they don't know better, they'll drop their price 10% cheaper. You drop your price, and eventually the customers benefit for a little bit of time whilst they can get it cheaper, but then both of you put yourself out of business, and then in the long run the customer suffers because now nobody can serve them, and somebody else, maybe an Action Coach client comes in and then really enjoys the benefit of that market. Right? So we do need to know why are you better, and really focus on making that stronger and locking it in I would strongly encourage as well, we're now heading into an oil and gas industry, and oil and gas is well known for the standards that organizations need to maintain in order to be able to survive and thrive in that area. And that fits well with our level 3, getting the systems locked in. So many of our clients are actually also in the process of becoming, many of them are ISO compliant, many of them are in the process of becoming ISO certified, because what that means is it's not Vishnu saying, well, my company is so fantastic, and I was saying your Capital News is so fantastic. We expect us to say that, right? We expect Keon to say Action Coach is the best. What ISO certification does is that the third party who knows nothing about you, could care less about how good you are, comes in and verifies that all these systems that you say you have, that they actually exist and they're utilized and that your customers are benefiting. And then they issue with a certificate. They come and randomly check on you throughout the year, random audits to see, are you doing what you're doing? So that all these companies that are coming in internationally, be it Exxon or Tullow or whoever, when you apply for work with them and you show them that you're ISO certified, they know what that means. Right? They all know what the various ISO certification means. So it makes it easier for them to say, okay, great, we see that some third party has certified that you can do it. You're less risky to us than someone who's just talking about how good they are, but nobody has ever verified that they're actually good. So I think in Guyana, we're going to head towards 5 to 10 years of massive growth, just because of the increase in revenue and investment that will stream here. That if we don't set ourselves up well, yes, we can talk a lot about local content, but every single piece of every version of our local content policy has actually said that locals will only be given preference where the capacity exists. Right? So that always comes in. It's always a comma and it says where the capacity exists. So if you can't demonstrate that the capacity exists, other companies, and again, nothing wrong with them. I have nothing against foreign companies, be it from the Caribbean or further afield, because they are going to leave their countries and bring their money and their expertise to come here because they can demonstrate that capacity exists. So if we are going to have our fair share of the pie, we need to set ourselves up in a place so that we don't just become subcontractors. Because what's happening in Guyana as well is that many Guyanese companies are operating as subcontractors, doing the bulk of the work, but the reason they didn't get the contract directly is that they don't have their documentation in order, they don't have systems in order, they can't demonstrate that they are actually able to deliver at a level that the companies want them to.
Gentlemen, what are some of the common mistakes business owners make?
So some common mistakes as well with business owners is, especially when they start off and they start getting their family involved, is that somehow everyone in the family now feels entitled, that everything needs to be paid by the owner. The owner also sometimes thinks that everybody in the family needs to work in the business, and unfortunately some business owners think that food and shelter is enough payment for their own family members. And what then happens is that some family members, they can't wait to get out of the business to get an actual job where they get actual money, and they don't do much in the business. So that causes weak foundation in the business. In some cases as well, they expect that the people because they're family members, that they're going to do all this hard work, and they overload them. They expect, because I am working like 2 and 3 people's job as a business owner, the people that I bring from my family are supposed to work as hard as well. If I show up at 6, they must show up at 6. If I decide to work late, they must all also work late. And that really puts a lot of strain, not just on the business, but also on the relationships, because people kind of start staying away from each other. I see a lot of situation in family businesses where after years now, they start separating. So when they started helping this owner here, because they were never treated fairly, they start a copy of the same business right down the street. And what then happens is that both of them now have a smaller market. Instead of working together, instead of collaborating, they're now competing, and they're actually destroying each other's business in the process. The other big thing is that many people start a business without a plan. So it was just a good idea, nothing on paper, not enough money to even go through the first month, so hoping that people will actually come to them, and with that money they'll continue bootstrapping it. Even when we talk about bootstrapping, which is working with the least amount of money, you still need a plan, because if you don't do it correctly, the money is gone, no results, business is dead. So having a plan upfront, not for the bank, not for investor, but for you to know what you must do day in, week in, month in, to really get the results that are needed, and identifying the right financial source. If you have sufficient savings to cover your plan for 3 to 6 months until the business gets flowing, that would be fine. Most people don't have that money set aside. Do you have family, friends who are willing to lend you? If that isn't there, do you have a financial institution that you can go to? And there are many options of financial institutions. For those of us who want to build legacy businesses that we want our kids to be able to take over in the future, please remember that your kids don't want to take over failing businesses. If they see you have been suffering for years in that business, is the last thing that's on their mind. Another big mistake I also see business owners making is encouraging their kids to become doctors and lawyers. And if you're in the rural areas in this country, bank employees. Because I do come from a rural area in this country, and other than being a doctor and a lawyer, which in the 80s and 90s was really sexy, really attractive, because there were very few of them. Right? So when they did their work and they go home and they do their private practice, they can charge people anything, and because they were in short supply, those people made a ton of money, doctors and lawyers. Now that is past tense, because now we're producing doctors at a much higher rate. It's easier to get doctors at the public facilities. Lawyers were pushing out 25 per year. So even getting lawyers as well, that's coming down. So if you are a business owner, I would strongly encourage you, your kids already know the business, they've probably grown up in it. If they do like it, have them study business administration. If it's an engineering type company, have them study mechanical engineering, civil engineering, geotechnical engineering if you want to go serve oil and gas, accounting. Actually have them focus on something that if they were to take over the business, they actually have some expertise to make this business grow further. Because many big businesses fail in Guyana as well, because the kids became doctors, lawyers, can't get work here, so they've gone elsewhere. And I can guarantee you, if you have a well-run business, there is no doctor, no lawyer that earns more than a business owner.
With a doctor and a lawyer, they engage in what we call active income. They have to be there to get the work done in order to earn money. As a business owner, you can enjoy passive income, which means that you can be at home while your business is operating and generating money for you. I would like to share just two more areas where many small businesses fail, and that will be in marketing. They engage in what we call poor marketing because they may lack the self-confidence to talk about their business, to go on Facebook and do a live video. And the biggest thing about it, the best form of marketing is consistent marketing. They might start this week, as we say in Guyana, hot and sweaty, 3 and 4 posts, and then they leave it because they might have gotten a few calls. One of the biggest things about your marketing funnel is that you always need to keep directing traffic towards that funnel, because many times the funnel starts very big, but then it narrows down because persons might call to see what you have to offer. They might not have understood, they're just inquiring. So by the time you're finished dealing with those leads, as we call them, you might end up with just a few customers. But if you turn off your marketing because you got a few leads in, then you're setting yourself up to start all over again, and it puts a strain on your cash flow. That's another area that small businesses generally failing, is cash flow management. And that is simply because they take the business and they make the business their personal wallet. That is definitely something that you don't want to do as a small business owner. Identify what your personal expenses are and pay yourself a salary from the business. Treat the business like a business, which means that you pay yourself a salary and then you determine, can the business actually stand on its own. As Dr. Darga alluded to, you might have your family members in there working very hard, but then you're not paying them, which means that you're subsidizing the business with free labor. When you're ready to expand and to hire people to come in to work for you, do you think they're going to come and work for free? Any minute over that 8 hours they're working, they're going to look at you, where's my overtime?
This concludes another episode of Business Inspire GY. Next week, the Guyana Marketing Corporation celebrates 8 years in business, and they will tell us how local manufacturers can get their products on their shelves.